Welcome to the Iconoblast podcast. This is the show that takes a look behind the public facades of famous icons to show you why you can never take anything at face value. My name is Cooper, and sitting across from me just now getting ready to do the show is Joel Benner.
What's up?
Just put your headphones on and let's get this going.
Iconoblast. We put the past on blast. Hit them with the truth, with things you never knew. Nobody is safe, no thing to place. Got Joel and Coop with history in your face. Iconoblast.
So on this episode, we're going to be wrapping up the Marian Reforms and getting back into the meat and potatoes of this whole series, which is Julius Caesar, who we haven't talked about in 3 episodes now.
Yeah, but all this shit about the military strategies and shit of the Romans is fucking crazy, though. So it's worth taking the time to do this.
Yeah, and honestly, I just kind of wanted an excuse to talk about that shit because it's not necessarily iconic, but it's fucking interesting. Really, we can talk about whatever we want on this show because it's our goddamn show.
Yep. I mean, it is iconic that they crushed.
Yeah, the Roman Legion
and
Legion in general is pretty fucking iconic. All right, let's just jump straight into this, and then we're going to get off track at some point anyway. So in the previous episodes, we talked about the Marian Reforms, and we talked about the Equites, or no, we haven't talked about the Equites yet, except a little bit. We talked about the Hastati, the Principes, the Triarii, which are the badass expendables with dad bods. And in this episode, we're going to be moving into the remaining 2 units from the pre-Marian Reform Roman Legion. There were 2 additional combat units used in support of the main infantry force, the Equites and the Velites.
Wait, who was cooler, though? I mean, obviously.
Out of all of them?
Yeah. I think that there's a cool connection between the old-timers, the expendables, what are they called? The
Triarii.
And then the people on the front with the wolf skulls.
The Velites.
Yeah, those 2 are my favorite so far.
And they weren't skulls. The Velites, I mean, according to some historians, they wore wolf skins with the wolf head sitting on top of their heads.
Maybe a bear skin, whatever they killed, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they got a hold of a bear skin in Italy, they probably wouldn't be Velites at that point. They'd be higher class.
Like in camp and stuff, the Triarii will like capture a wolf or a bear or whatever the fuck it is, and they'll be like, all right, who was cool in the last battle? That one dude with the loincloth. Let's get him over here. And then they're like, all right, fight this wolf, kill the wolf with your bare hands, and if you kill it, you get to wear it in the next battle.
Well, they would have started. I think that would be more likely.
Well, no, that's why he had the loincloth. He got the loincloth from his dad who killed a rabbit once, and now he's up.
All his dad killed was a rabbit?
Well, his dad sucked.
Yeah, it sounds like his dad sucked. There's not a whole lot of historical evidence for exactly what the Velites were wearing. I mean, honestly, nobody knows for sure what anybody was fucking wearing back then. We find
like
these.
It's what they had.
Yeah, and there's.
There could have been a guy with a shitty dad who all he could do was kill rabbits and squirrels, so he showed up with like a squirrel tail covering his penis and like a couple of shoulder straps from a deer tongue or something.
Yeah, sure. I don't feel like arguing about it.
It's possible.
Equites were cavalry made up of wealthy landowning Romans.
Equites.
They had to be wealthy landowning Romans because nobody else could afford to own horses. Equites would usually be placed at the wings of the main formation to cover the flanks of the infantry and make quick hit-and-run attacks against the enemy. Velites were the youngest and least experienced men in the legion. As such, they were the most enthusiastic and the most expendable. So I guess the Velites were technically the expendables. They weren't like the expendables from the movie, but they were just flat-out expendable. They were poor kids. They were almost like...
That's the front line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they put the least experienced soldiers out front so they could preserve their more experienced
squirrel
soldiers.
tails to cover their penis. Yeah.
Yes, with squirrel tails over their penis. That's a historical fact right there.
So if you had a horse, you were just like boom up in the ranks.
Well, to own a horse, you would have to be of a higher class because otherwise you wouldn't be able to afford having a horse because you needed the land, you needed the food for the horses. You were just wealthier than the other troops.
Back then, before the reforms, if you had a horse, you basically just got to pass all those lower level things. You didn't have to like.
It was more of a.
You didn't have to wear a squirrel tail.
Promotion. No, they didn't have to wear a squirrel tail. They just had to ride their horses. They did have to pay to pre-Marian Reform. They had to pay to feed their horses and bring people along to help care for the horses. But I mean, everybody pre-Marian Reform had to pay for their own servants. Well, honestly, they probably weren't paying them. It was a little bit more of a forced position than anything else.
They fed them.
Well, yeah, they had
Sometimes.
to. I mean, fuck, for them, it was like the same as feeding the horse. It's like, well, I have to keep feeding this thing or else it's going to die and then I can't use it anymore. History is a really brutal topic. For the vast majority of human history, I mean, even current history, people are shitty to each other. Yeah. So you can't really get too caught up on that, or else we'd just be sitting here talking shit about everybody. Well, that's what we do anyway. We talk shit about everybody constantly.
Well, whoever deserves it.
Everybody deserves it. To different degrees, but everybody deserves it.
Mr. Rogers?
Okay, Mr. Rogers and Tom Hanks are the only two people that I can think of where
far, yeah.
I've... Maybe Bob Ross also. I think Bob Ross, the painter with the afro, I think those three people...
He's a sweetheart.
Yeah, those three people, they're just perfect.
Do you think
Nothing wrong with them. Mr. Rogers, though, is for sure at the top of
Was
the
he
list.
married?
Mr. Rogers?
No, Bob Ross?
Yeah, he had a son.
Yeah. What does his wife look like?
I don't know. She probably looked just like him.
Do you think he could throw down in the sack?
Bob Ross?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, Bob Ross. I don't think that he was, slinging dick like a porn star, but I bet that he could really make love. He wasn't fucking. He was
love
making
like
love.
A painting, yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, I can guarantee that he painted naked pictures of his wife.
You think so?
If he didn't, he's missing out on an opportunity. I mean, that's probably how he got her into bed the first time. It's like the scene from Titanic where Leonardo DiCaprio paints Kate Winslet.
Holy shit, except way more boring.
Oh, yeah, he's just in there like, oh,
Explaining
whoops.
each step.
I was painting your pubic hair, but I made a happy little mistake. All right, where did we leave off? Talking about the Velites. So the Velites...
Okay, sorry to interrupt you.
It's the second time you've interrupted me on the same goddamn sentence.
Well, I just
that's
searched
your job, I guess.
Bob Ross painting of wife. Not a single one came up.
Well, yeah, because she was fucking naked in all of those
They'll
paintings.
still come up.
No,
There's a picture of her holding a painting. She's cute.
I picture... Okay, don't tell me. I'll tell you what I picture, and then you can tell me if I'm right. I picture short, blonde, curly hair, like a really, really tight afro, and probably some high-waisted jeans, tank top. I'm actually just describing my music teacher from like 4th grade, because that's what I would picture him.
She's got bangs, and it's fluffy on the top and long hair, but it's brown.
She had a mullet?
She has a mullet, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
They look cute together.
Are you sure that's his wife?
No, wait, it says Indian girl in the... Okay, well, I don't know what this is. Let's just move on.
Well, that's not very PC to call her Indian,
No.
unless she's actually East Indian.
It's season 5, episode 12, Indian girl.
What? Season 5, episode 12 of what?
That's what it's of his show.
Oh.
And apparently that's her on that episode.
Huh. Can we talk about the Velites now?
I guess so.
All right, here we go. So, as I was saying, the Velites would run out in front of the maniples in disorganized groups, throwing spears and trying to pick fights with the enemy. This wasn't unrestrained youth acting against orders. It was all part of the order of battle.
Okay.
The default strategy was to send the Velites out in a chaotic mass, purposely moving in unpredictable patterns and being as obnoxious as possible. You know, we talked about it in a previous episode that you would be a good Velite, and I think you're right.
Yeah.
We're just going out there and pissing people off.
Yeah, I already told you what I would do. Spread the cheeks.
Spread the cheeks.
Poop.
Take a dump.
Throw the poop. Throw spears. Throw poop.
Where are you going to wash your hands? They don't have running water out there.
On the dead bodies.
So you just
the
wipe
people
shit
I
on
killed.
dead bodies. You're desecrating dead bodies.
Or
have some respect.
while they're like wounded or... No, it's the enemy.
Still, you got to have respect.
Okay, I'll do it while they're alive.
Even Sun Tzu, the author of The Art of War, said that you should have respect for your enemies. And I mean,
Once
I think
they're dead, it doesn't matter. They don't
technically,
care. They
isn't
don't have
that
feelings?
Isn't that desecrating corpses? That would be desecrating a corpse if you smeared shit on their face after they were dead.
Well, if it was on my hands and they were right there, I'd wipe it on their clothes.
Okay, if you're wiping it on their clothes, then that's fine.
If it was someone that stabbed me, I'd wipe it on their face.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they'd have it coming at that point. Wait, after they were dead or before they were dead?
Either way.
You probably want to do it before they die just so they know, like,
Yeah.
fuck you.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah.
The Velites would throw spears, known as pilum, at the enemy with the intention of intimidating, wounding, or killing the enemy. This would distract the opposing troops and screen the size and formation of the main lines of infantry. The ballsiest Veletae may have called out enemy soldiers for an old-fashioned fight to the death. This is disputed, but believable, as victory would increase the morale of the Maniples and gain the Veletae a shitload of street cred.
This is what we were talking about on the last episode.
Yeah, it's
a way better explanation.
After the main formation was in place, the Veletaes would be pulled back, and the Maniples would advance.
And become medics.
And they would become medics. Anytime anybody was wounded or anything like that.
I guess not medics, but they would pull the wounded out.
They would pull the living wounded out of the way so they could hopefully survive and maintain their numbers and heal over time.
Was there a medic class back then?
Kind of medic class. Well, this isn't Battlefield or Call of Duty, but I'm sure that they had probably not dedicated doctors. Once the two sides engaged, the Hastati would take the brunt of the impact. This is where most other militaries of the time called the plan finished. Engage the enemy and hope you win before you run out of energy. Battles at the time were more of a stab-happy shoving match than a chaotic mass of one-on-one combat, like a rugby scrum, but honestly less violent. In large-scale melee combat, the team that can fight the longest has the greatest chance of success. No matter how big or strong the opposing army is, once they run out of energy, the fight's over. The Romans figured out a way to fight all goddamn day.
Yeah.
And we've alluded to this and kind of outright talked about it in the previous episodes. The main strength of the Romans was their ability to operate like a modern sports team. The front line would fight until they were tired, then they would switch with the second line. The second line would switch with the third, then by the time the third line was tired, the first line could go back in again. So this happened on a small scale and on a large scale. So when you have your first group of Hastati going in, the Hastati are broken up into multiple ranks. The first rank would engage with the enemy. Once they started getting tired, they would swap out with the soldiers behind them, and then the line behind that would swap out, and then the line behind that would swap out, and they'd keep rotating until they wore down the enemy enough that the next group could go in, which was the Principes. This rotation happened on a large scale as well, if the battle lasted long enough. Once the Hastati had worn themselves out, the Principes would step into to replace them.
The Principes.
The Principes.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
The Principes would then follow the same rotation among their lines, allowing each rank time to rest. This allowed the Roman legions to fight for hours on end with no break in the fighting. All of these soldiers needed equipment, and that would cost cold, hard cash. This is where we're getting back into what the Marian Reforms really changed, because up until this point, the Roman legion was operating as a militia. Everybody had to bring their own equipment.
You had to pay for your own shit.
Yeah, and you had to support yourself the whole time you were out there fighting, which that's a pretty shitty way to do things. Since the state wasn't footing the bill, it fell to the soldiers themselves to purchase and maintain their gear. To ensure the quality, only citizens from higher classes could serve the legion. After a few costly campaigns, the state was running low on eligible soldiers. The Marian Reforms removed the land ownership and class requirements from military service, allowing the average citizen to join and serve. Caesar's uncle Gaius Marius also pushed to give Roman citizenship to the entire Italian peninsula, further widening the pool of recruits. Before you had to be a citizen of Rome, which was pretty much limited to just Rome, because all of Italy wasn't really it wasn't a country at that point. It was just a bunch of city-states, the way that shit used to work back then. Besides increasing the selection of prospective cannon fodder, this also gave the poorest inhabitants of Italy a way to lift themselves out of generational poverty. A term in the Legion meant 16 years of regular paychecks plus whatever valuables you could dig out of the pockets of your dead enemies. Weapons, equipment, and armor were provided by the state as well, further reducing the barrier for entry. These reforms changed the Roman military from a militia into something closer to the professional armies of modern times.
And were they the first ones to do this in that time period?
I don't think they were the first ones to have a professional army. In terms of the way that they operated as a military, they were the first ones to use these tactics that they were using at the time, especially swapping out the different lines of soldiers so you can just continuously fight. They were the first ones to do that.
So basically, the fucking Marian Reforms fucked poor people over, because before that, rich people had to fight.
No, it was good for the poor people, because before that, if you
no, because that started the chain reaction of how it is now. If the whole world took the structure from before the reforms, then the richest people and the people with the most money would be basically paying for the military.
No, somebody was going to come up with this plan at some point or other.
No. It was fucking Uncle Julius, dude. He fucked us.
Uncle Gaius.
before the Maid Marian Reforms. The fox is hot, bud.
You're a furry.
It was rich people joining, or at least middle class.
Just in Rome, though.
Right, just in Rome.
I mean, other
But that was
countries
the
had
case.
armies that had a bunch of slaves. Rich people are always going to be fucking poor people over. As
Yeah.
long as there's money around, rich people are going to be fucking poor people over.
I'm going to blame Gaius for this.
I mean, you could try. If you want
I
to...
mean, I can blame whoever I want. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be true. It's true to me.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you know me. I have a hard time believing in objective truth.
You won't even fuck a mermaid or a fox, so even if they're hot, doesn't.
Jesus Christ. I'm not going to
You're a
fuck...
lost cause.
I'm not going to fuck Maid Marian from the Disney movies.
Yeah, you would. You just think you wouldn't.
No, I'm pretty sure I'm not.
We had this conversation.
I'm
with
not
Dan.
into furry porn.
Dan was down to fuck her.
There's a lot of things Dan would do that I wouldn't do.
Dan would fuck anything, I think.
I mean, yeah, probably even just to prove a point.
Yeah, he fucks husbands.
Yeah, to assert dominance.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, you give him a good enough reason, and Dan will do anything.
You should learn from that.
I'm not gonna fuck a fox.
You wouldn't fuck it's not a fox. It's Maid Marian.
She's a fox.
No,
she
that's
is
like-
an animal.
That's like the that's the paper version of what it is. It doesn't matter if she's nice and she's sweet and she'll take care of you and she's hot and you have a good imagination, then it doesn't matter what she is.
So I'm supposed to have sex with an animated fox just because she has a good personality and
Yes.
she treats me well?
Yes.
Wait, that's like modern day nice guy mentality. If I'm nice to you, you better fuck me.
What do you mean?
Like the incels, they think that.
Like a simp?
Well, yeah, most simps are incels. I don't
It's
know
not a
if
simp if you watch
all simps are incels. Not all incels are simps.
Robin Hood and
The Disney
you're watching-
Robin Hood.
Yeah, the Disney Robin Hood, and you're watching a film where you're supposed to let it go and just enjoy the film, take it in, don't get taken out, and you fully become into it.
Letting it go doesn't involve completely ignoring the fact that they're animals.
It
Are you
doesn't
gonna fuck a
matter
dog?
because-
Dogs are nice to you. Are you gonna fuck
Okay,
a
so
dog?
because they talk, are you just gonna stop watching it?
No, but I'm
Because
not
they're
gonna.
walking on their feet. They're walking on 2 feet. Okay, well that's not true. So I can no longer pay attention to the story. Oh wait, but they can't shoot guns. They don't have thumbs. So
Well, they didn't have
the
guns
logic-
in the Disney Robin Hood.
yeah, they did.
They did?
The sheriffs had bows and arrows and weapons and a catapult. And all
Well,
kinds
yeah,
of
but
shit.
not guns. They didn't have firearms.
Weaponry.
Well, yeah, they didn't
And
have guns.
a fox can't hold a bow. A fox doesn't wear
Wait,
clothes.
that's-
So you're cool with watching the movie and believing all that other shit.
Yeah.
and enjoy
well,
the
because
film.
I can watch
But
the movie.
not believing that you would sleep with Maid Marian if she was hot anyway. So your suspension of disbelief only goes as far as clothing, weaponry. They can
It's
talk.
not-
If they can speak. It's a fucking animal speaking English.
It's not suspending disbelief. It's you're pressuring me
fuck
into
Maid
sex.
Marian, dude.
You're pressuring me into sex with an animal right
No,
now,
you're
and
not.
I don't appreciate it.
No, I'm not. What I'm doing is trying to expand your imagination where you become part of that world, and you no longer see animals or mermaids or humans. You just enjoy whatever it is that makes you happy in the moment.
Yeah, what makes
This will
me
be a
happy?
big breakthrough.
What makes me happy in the moment is
Is
female
nothing.
women. Oh, well,
Nothing
actually,
makes
no.
you
If,
happy.
if we're being honest, then yeah, nothing makes me happy.
Yeah, so this
It doesn't matter what I do, I'm fucking miserable.
That's what I'm saying. There's a problem here.
Well, yeah, obviously, but that problem has nothing to do with me not having sex with an animal.
I'm not talking about sex.
Wait, yes, you
Part of it
were.
is
That's the
fucking-
whole thing that we're talking about. Is
Maid Marian is hot.
your
The hottest Maid
your
Marian.
exact question? No, the hottest
Would you
Maid
fuck
Marian
Maid
is
Marian? Which Maid
hottest
would you
Maid Marian.
fuck?
We
But
already
that-
went over this. Hottest Maid Marian is from Robin Hood Men in Tights.
No, it's not.
In my opinion, it's subjective.
Yeah, it is. I
And
agreed with you when you said if you were a fox, you'd fuck them.
Do you like women with hairy legs?
If they're hot enough, yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Actually,
that's
I've been
okay.
starting to
If
get
they're
turned
covered,
on by hairy armpits lately because so many girls online have hairy armpits now. And at first it bothered me, and then I got used to it, and then I'm like, oh, it's kind of like a bush. Like once in a while, there's a fucking bush on a vag, and you're like, fuck yeah, I'm into that.
oh no, not once in a while. I'd prefer
It's the
that
same
honestly.
with the armpits. It just takes a minute because
That's
we're
just
from
all.
the 80s.
That's all subjective again. You can't belittle me because of what I'm
I'm not
attracted
belittling.
to.
I'm trying to expand your mind.
No, you're straight up trying to pressure me into fucking an animal. Plain and simple.
She's not an animal.
She's a.
No, it's
she
an
is
animated
a
film.
literal fox.
It's an animated film where she's animated as a fox that wears
Well,
clothes.
when you watch,
they're playing humans.
When you watch
They're-
Disney's
they're
Robin
more-
Hood,
they're more humans than foxes.
Okay, when you watch Disney's Robin Hood,
As a child or now.
or even as an adult, are you seeing people or are you seeing animals?
Okay, as a child, people. As a adult, and they're animals. But when I was a kid watching those movies, all of them were fantasy things. I was in a fantasy world where I was one of them. There was no they were all different animals. There were snakes that could talk. There was lions, birds, chickens, and fucking
Yeah,
foxes.
I mean, I don't want to fuck the Sheriff of
Bears.
Nottingham either. Wasn't the Sheriff of Nottingham a snake in the
I think
Disney?
He was a wolf.
Wait, who was the snake then?
The snake was the jester for the king, who was the lion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't want to fuck any of them.
I was too young to fuck. I didn't know that it was fucking as the end goal. What I was in love with Marian.
You fell in love with her personality.
I fell in love with her of everything she was. It didn't matter what she was. Didn't matter if she was white or black, a fox.
So
or
now
a
you're
tree.
calling me racist because I won't fuck a fox.
No, you're just being real sensitive.
I'm being sensitive. You were the first one to raise your voice.
We've taken this way too far. So I want to ask you this. Is anything I'm saying making sense, even though you don't want to do it? But the perspective of a child just really enjoying a movie, all the movies, all Disney movies when you're a kid.
Well, I mean, Ariel from The Little Mermaid was always my favorite Disney princess, or the Disney princess that I was the most attracted to. I mean, I think second place would be Belle. Now, Belle's probably bumped up to first place because Ariel's 16 years old.
Belle
and that's
fell in love with an animal.
what Belle is attracted to is her own business, and I don't.
But you think it's bad?
No, what I'm saying is I personally do not want to have sex with a hairy creature.
Right. So I think the point that I'm trying to make, or the I don't want to fuck a fucking animal either. But
Except named Marian.
well, no, because she's not an animal to me. That's the point I'm trying to make. When you fully accept a film and you're fully entrenched in the film, it changes your perspective of everything. They're no longer like when I watched that as a kid, they weren't even animals. They were just all those characters, and all those characters meant something. So they become a part of you, and you're one of them. So I was just another animal, just like all of them. So there wasn't a separation of what do you call it, race or beast or whatever the fuck you want to call it, species. It didn't. None of that was even a part of it.
So
when you imagine,
you're not calling me racist. You're calling me a speciesist. Speciesist.
I'm not calling you anything. I'm just trying to. I mean, this is the same. You feel the same way about mermaids, and
Okay, well,
this is the same thing I was trying to get you to understand. That it's not about anything of what they are, what they look like, or what species, or anything.
This is the same thing as the conversation that we had about whether or not I would have sex with a mermaid. It's not an issue of imagination. It's an issue of practicality.
Right, but like if a mermaid actually existed for me, and I knew I couldn't fuck them, I would still say I'd want to fuck them, and I would still, if I liked them and we got along and we had a relationship, I would say yes, I would fuck them if I could, and I'm in love with them, and I'm going to spend my life with them. I don't care that I can't physically or logically, scientifically fuck them.
Well, I mean, I understand falling in love with somebody that you can't have sex with for some reason, or someone that you can't be physical with for some reason. That was your main
point why you wouldn't fall in love with the mermaid, because you can't fuck them.
Well, with the mermaid, that's not right, because the question was, would you fuck a mermaid? That was the original question.
So if you were in love, would you fuck her if you could?
Would I fall in love with the mermaid? Sure. Would I fuck a mermaid?
No, but you've said you wouldn't.
This is a fucking series about ancient Rome, and what the fuck are we talking about? Okay, you can fall in love with anything that you want.
So because
falling
I said
in love
instead of love, it was because...
Well, yeah, because there's a big difference between fucking and being in love. You can fuck somebody without being in love.
No, because we talked about the okay, remember I set up the whole scenario the first time, episode 3. I said, she's on the beach, this and this. You guys first talk, you don't know about nothing. You get a relationship and blah, 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 blah. And you still... I set it all up like a real relationship.
But the baseline question was, would you have sex with a mermaid?
Yeah, and you're saying no.
Yeah, because
You can
to me,
fuck her face. That is fucking.
not according to some
you
people.
Won't.
No, that's because
You
it's not
fuck
what
a mermaid in the face.
Jesus Christ.
The top half is human.
Well, yeah.
If you're in love and she was like, I want to give you a blowy.
So rephrase the question. Would I titty fuck a mermaid or get a blowjob from a mermaid?
I've asked you
Ask me that.
I asked you if you would titty fuck a mermaid.
No.
Yes, I did.
No, because the answer would obviously be yes.
I'm going to look it up and I'm going to... Why am I holding this?
I have no idea.
Because I said this. I said fuck her face. I said titty fuck. I told you all the different things and you were like, no. That's why I was so upset the last time we talked.
You were upset because I said I wouldn't titty fuck a mermaid?
Yeah, and I know you fucking well enough that you would titty fuck anybody.
Well, we'll take a quick break, figure this out, and we'll be right back.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
I thought that we were supposed to be talking about Julius Caesar.
Well, yeah, but I've been trying to set the stage for all of this. That's why we're talking about the Marian Reforms. If it wasn't for the Marian Reforms, then Caesar would have never became as powerful as he was. Because the thing is, before the Marian Reform, you know what? It's in the notes. I'm just going to get back into the notes. It'll explain everything. Mm-hmm. All right. The reforms had the unexpected side effect of redirecting the loyalty of the legions. Before Marius, only upper-class citizens were allowed in the military, mostly due to the costs associated with going on campaign. Soldiers were responsible for purchasing and maintaining... Don't touch my goddamn drinks. We settled some of this shit. We haven't settled everything. Before Marius, only upper-class citizens were allowed into the military, mostly due to the costs associated with going on campaign. Soldiers were responsible for purchasing and maintaining their own equipment, as well as provisioning any servants or pack animals they brought along. Servants is kind of a nice way of saying slaves.
What are pack animals, like donkeys?
Yeah, I think there were donkeys or mules. I don't know if they had mules back then. They probably did. By only pulling soldiers from the upper crust, the state was guaranteed men who could afford to leave home for a few months and pay for their own equipment. And it was important that they were able to...
Fuck their donkeys? Never mind.
I mean, probably. They needed to be fairly wealthy because farmers and shit like that, they couldn't afford to leave home. If they left home during campaign season, that meant that they weren't there to make sure that their crops were growing and they were getting harvested. So you needed to be able to afford people to pay for that shit for you, or not pay for that shit. You needed to be able to afford to have people doing the work for you if you were going to go out on campaign.
That's crazy.
The troops got a cut of the spoils, so a successful campaign would turn a tidy profit, but service was still compulsory. As a result, pre-Marian Reform military service was seen as something of a sacred duty. A good citizen was a loyal citizen, and there was no greater way to show loyalty than putting your life on the line for the state. Plus, you got to take stuff from the dead bodies. Post-Marian Reform, they started letting any jackass join up, and that meant inconsistency in the quality of equipment and experience of each soldier. The only way to ensure a minimum standard was to issue a basic kit to each soldier, which meant somebody had to shell out the cash up front. Alongside the cost of equipment, there were salaries to consider. The new Roman legion was staffed by professional soldiers, and professionals get paid for their work. I mean, ideally.
Unless you're a filmmaker.
Yeah, it seems like that's...
An indie filmmaker.
Yeah, it seems like that's the case a lot of the times. Once again, this meant some capital was required. The Marian Reform solved this by simply saying, you want a legion? You fucking pay for it. The general in charge of the army was responsible for securing or personally providing funding.
Who'd they say that to? The government or to Rome?
I mean, to the generals themselves. It's like if you want to raise a legion, okay, get the money for it. Yeah, that's the way that.
So then the generals had to start playing with the politicians.
No, well, to a certain point, but for the most part, if you wanted to have a legion to go on campaign, you better have the money to pay for it. Otherwise, the soldiers aren't going to work for you.
But what was the incentive to be a general then? Why would you want to pay for that, and why would you want to do all that shit?
The amount of money that you could make by taking over a new territory or...
From looting. It's like, is it actually from the looting or like
looting and pillaging does give you a good amount of the profit from it, but once you subjugate an area, you can tax the shit out of it. All the people that you take over, it's like, all right, give me this amount of grain.
So if you were the general and you had your legion and you attacked a town, took it over, you get the taxes from that town?
If you become governor of that area, which, I mean, it's going to fall into different areas, but you're also going to get, once you take over a new...
So is that like what generals would do? They would slaughter a bunch of shit and then be like, all right, I'm going to become the governor of the area that I conquered.
They wouldn't be able to say, I took over this area, I get to be the governor, but they would be able to run. I mean, it's not really running for governor because people aren't voting for him. Like the Senate's voting for him, but once you took over an area, you would have enough clout to say, actually, even then, you needed to be in a high enough position in Roman politics to actually be a governor. They called him, I think they called him praetors. So you would need to be high enough in Roman politics where you could run an army. You could actually be a general. And then you would go out on campaign. You would either take over new territory or you would put down uprisings in places that were fighting back against Roman rule. And then when you're going through that area,
you just take what you want when you're there.
Yeah, no one's going to say shit to you. You have a whole fucking Roman legion behind you. You just take whatever you want.
You get a lot of shit just for being in that position because you're moving around and there's no internet. There's no one posting photos of the fucked up shit you're doing.
Oh, dude, it would have been even better for him if people were posting photos because during a Roman triumph, they would just paint pictures of the shit that they did while they were out on campaign, if they did enough to actually earn a triumph. We're going to talk about triumphs in a later episode.
Because it makes you scarier, or makes you... Yeah. Okay.
And it's also,
the same as...
the Roman triumphs were like propaganda. They would show, it would be a huge parade through the city of Rome where the end result was not only stroking the ego of the general that conquered the new territory or the general that earned the triumph, it would stroke their ego, but it would also show the Roman citizens, like, look how amazing Rome is. Rome is so badass. Look at the shit that we did while we were out on campaign. Don't you dare think about rising up against us. It also gives you a little bit of, like, not necessarily national pride, but pride in your state. The
word spreads. Yeah. That makes sense.
So the triumphs, we're going to do a whole episode on the triumphs of Julius Caesar, and it was
fucking crazy, huh?
Yeah, it is fucking insane because it's like the Macy's Day Parade if it involved ritualistic sacrifice. Not sacrifice.
Like the Rose Parade?
Yeah, like the Rose Parade.
They're killing people on the floats.
Yeah, if you're parading.
Holy shit. Okay, I gotta be honest. I would love that. Now that's entertaining.
So imagine if after Osama bin Laden was killed, well, more like this. Imagine Osama bin Laden wasn't killed, which, by the way, you got to hang out with the guy that killed bin Laden.
Yeah.
Rob O'Neill, that's insane. Our life has changed so much.
Yeah, because we work for the Tetherball Academy, Drinking Bros, and I'm an editor and videographer, filmmaker for them. And so I went on a shoot with them for like a veteran, it's called Helicopters for Heroes. It's all any combat veterans that are wounded or handicapped veterans, people like that, wooden legs, fucking, I saw a peg leg.
Wounded warriors.
I saw people with no legs. I saw people without eyeballs. There was a guy that gave a speech who had both his eyes taken out and part of his face was melted off. And he was giving a speech in front of like 30 kids. It was fucking awesome. I went there and shot that, and the guy that killed Osama bin Laden was there.
So imagine Osama bin Laden wasn't killed in that raid. He was captured. And they brought Osama bin Laden back to America, paraded him through the streets of Washington, D.C., and then ritualistically strangled him at the end of the parade. Yes. That's a Roman triumph. Dude, we'll go into that into more detail in a later episode.
The people that have fought and the people that were there would really enjoy that if it happened today.
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would enjoy seeing that.
Yeah.
So the general in charge of the army was responsible for securing or personally providing funding for the legions they wished to raise. The leader would pay the salaries of the men as well as bonuses and retirement funds. If you raised a legion, you were responsible for those men. You were building up your own army, and you had to make sure that they got their salaries paid.
Right.
And once they completed their
Kind
campaign,
of like health insurance or something.
yeah, especially if you had Caesar ran into problems with this later in his life, where he raised legions that served him for years and years, and they worked for that entire time pretty much on IOUs, where he's like, all right, just do one more campaign for me. I swear after this campaign, I'm going to pay you. I'm going to take care of you. Don't worry about it. And it eventually got to the point where some of his, we'll get into it later, but he had to borrow a shitload of money from this asshole named Crassus to pay him all back. Replacing a sacred obligation to the state with cold hard cash meant the new legionnaires were beholden to the general, not the government. Now, this is important. This is going to play into Caesar's story later, so make sure you remember this. You're not going to remember this, but everybody listening at home, make sure you remember this. This loyalty was good, as it meant the soldiers were willing to follow their general to the ends of the earth, should they ask. At the same time, this meant that the legions were willing to follow their general through the gates of Rome, should they ask.
Yeah.
Sulla was one of the generals that asked his legion, and they happily obliged. Sulla was the one that was...
He's the one that fights Uncle Caesar.
Yeah, he was in the Civil War with Gaius Marius when Caesar was just a little baby boy. Well, I think he was like 16 years old when that happened.
So was that part of the Marian Reforms that changed so what would you call it, Rome, or the government? It changed from them having the power to the generals having the power.
It changed the loyalty of the soldiers from being directed at... So in modern times, the way that you could picture it is... So imagine if modern day armies were loyal to... So in the modern military, you are... I don't want to say indoctrinated. I mean, frankly, it's indoctrinated. I was in the military also. I was in the army. So I don't mean this as an insult to anybody in the military. But I don't think anybody's going to deny that you're indoctrinated to be beholden to the government. So instead of having your loyalty lie to the United States of America, your loyalty is with your direct general, the person leading the legion that you're in. So
that's not how it is now. Now it's like your loyalty is, right? Your loyalty is to the country.
Your loyalty is to the
not
nation.
the government.
Yeah. And it's because of shit like what happened with Sulla and Caesar and, I mean, God knows how many other people in history. Yeah, you want people to be loyal to the nation overall, not to the person leading the army. You're still going to have loyalty to the person leading the army, but you want the most loyalty. You want nationalism. I don't mean white nationalism. White nationalism is, a bunch of bullshit. But nationalism is important. It's tribalism by a different name. You want to be loyal to your tribe because you want everybody working towards the same goal.
Yeah. So the nation, you mean, like this whole country?
Yeah, the nation.
Working together.
Yeah, that's nationalism. You're loyal to your nation.
Before we move on from this, because I feel like there's a really good story you could tell. The poop part, the poopy in the showers.
Jesus Christ!
Can you tell that story? I know we've kind of been on tangents in this episode, and so maybe this is just a tangent episode because I feel like.
Well,
come on, dude, that story is good.
I'll tell the story anyway. I mean, it's been a while since I've told the story, so it's going to be a little sloppy. But anybody,
it's a fucking good story, dude.
Anybody, I mean, the majority of the Drinking Bros audience is veterans.
There's
so
there's a lot of veterans, and there's a lot of people like me that you got to tell the story because I love this story.
Well, let me tell you.
Like, I've watched every war film.
I was trying to do a fucking dramatic intro right there.
Well, it wasn't close to the mic. You couldn't hear any of that.
I didn't want people hearing me sucking on.
No, if it was wanted the visually dramatic.
The smoke. Yeah, we're on YouTube now, so that the visual drama is important. I was trying to.
Yeah, if you want to.
Trying to build a moment.
If you want to see the visual drama that I cut off, follow us on Drinking Bros History on YouTube.
Drinking Bros History channel.
Yeah. Okay, do it again. Just start over.
So let me tell you about my experience in the military, specifically my experience in basic training.
Wait, you got to do it again. You got to get closer.
Well,
to the
God damn it,
You can't hear it.
Well, they don't want to hear me sucking on this shitty little vaporizer.
It sounds like for the visual people are going to see you no matter what, so they're already fucked. But the people in audio will think it's a badass cigar.
This doesn't really sound like a cigar.
No, if you get close.
Let me tell you about my experience in the military. If you want to be in the military, you need to get used to two things.
You get closer to the mic.
You need to get used to seeing dicks, and you need to get used to digging dingleberries out of shower drains. So when I signed up, I thought that I was signing up to fight for my country. But all I was fighting the entire time was my gag reflex. Not from sucking dick. I was fighting my gag reflex from the amount of time I had to spend with shit in my hands. So this is specifically referring to being in basic training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. When you're going through this training process, you don't have a whole lot of time in the day. You got to get up early in the morning. You got to go through PT. You got to eat breakfast. You got to go through more training. There's not a whole lot of time to shower. And when you got about 60 to 80 men that are all sharing the same showers, that only have time to shower, a couple times a week, you're still shitting every day. You're only showering a couple times a week. That's building up a lot of dingleberries. Anybody who's not familiar with a dingleberry is when a bunch of shit gets stuck to the hair around your asshole. Joel, I'm trying to build a moment. Come on.
Sorry.
So for the gentlemen out there, I'm sure are already familiar with this, but the ladies might not know this. Some of the ladies might not. A lot of times when you take a shit and you're in a hurry, you do a bit of a slapdash job, wiping your asshole. That leaves behind a little residue that gets stuck to the hair around your asshole, sort of like peanut butter in a shag carpet. That eventually dries and hardens into little rocks. Those are called dingleberries. And when you're in the shower, you don't want those little shit rocks sitting around your asshole. So you just grab onto those motherfuckers and you just rip them out. It's kind of like pulling a booger out of your nose. Rips out the hair, but you don't have a booger in your nose anymore. Well, those have to go somewhere. Those go in the shower drain. Somebody has to clean that out of there. That's what I did. That's how I served my country. I waxed floors, and I pulled dingleberries out of shower drains. Jesus Christ, there was a lot of them.
How many on the average?
Like per shower drain?
Or, well, I don't know, like per cleanup. Per drain, per drain per time you had to clean. Because they rotated the cleaning, right?
Yeah. Everybody was taking turns cleaning things out.
Or was it just you? Did they single you out?
No, I got singled out for waxing floors because I was really fucking good at waxing floors. I had a nice ratio of floor wax. You mix a little bit of Windex in there, and my trick is you put a tiny little bit of Brasso in there, and that helps out too. I was really good at waxing floors, honestly. So, when you're cleaning the showers, all over the shower drain.
Oh God, it's so gross.
Imagine a Werther's Original caramel, but with just imagine a piece of caramel about the size of a marble.
Caramel?
Yeah, caramel.
Like
the candy.
syrup?
Well, no, I mean like a hard.
Like a hard candy. Oh, hard caramel. Yeah.
Well, I mean they're not that hard. They're fairly soft if you
like caramel in a Snickers bar?
No, a little bit more firm than that. Like, you know those square caramels that you can buy in the plastic packages? It's soft, but it's not not that soft.
Yeah, when it has the twists are on the sides.
Yeah, you picture something like, or picture a little bit like taffy almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the shower drain, you've got, God, I'm having flashbacks now thinking about it.
How many times did you have to clean the drains?
I mean, I did it like
Once a week?
Once a week. Well, I mean, it would. Well, no, overall we.
How often was it cleaned? Every day?
No, not every single day. You'd clean about once a week. Jesus Christ, I got stuck with shower duty a lot. Fuck. Yeah, because
everybody did. If it was every day, it was probably cleaned.
Well, no, everybody would kind of split up and clean different parts of the bay. The bay was like our area in the overall barracks. Because they.
Did you step on the drain ever?
What do you mean? Like, did I step in the shit?
Like you're showering and you forget the drain's covered in dingleberries and you
Oh,
do a
dude,
little steppy.
you're so tired.
You don't even give a fuck.
You're so tired and you're in such a hurry that you don't even notice it. You don't notice it until you're in there digging it out with your bare hands. We didn't have any rubber gloves to clean that shit out of there. It
became part of the routine, like wiping your feet off when you left the shower to knock off the dingleberries.
No, you didn't even wipe your feet off. You didn't have time for that shit. You went in there. So the way that we did it is you'd go into the shower. We would rotate in and out of the showers. And this is just for the basic training portion. We would rotate in and out of the showers where we had 8 showers in our barracks.
8 shower heads.
Yeah, 8 shower heads.
In one room.
8 men would go in and they would get wet. Oh yeah, dicks everywhere. If you're going to be in the military, you need to get used to dicks and shit. Because there's going to be a lot of dicks and there's going to be a lot of shit. So you go into the shower, you get yourself wet, and then you get the fuck out of the shower. And when you're out of the shower, you got some soap, you scrub yourself down because there's another 8 guys that are going in there to take a shower, or at least to get themselves wet. Once you scrub yourself down with the soap, then it's your turn to go back into the shower and you rinse off, and then you get the fuck out of there. There's no time to think about what you're stepping in.
The soap is shared.
Well, no, for us, it was liquid soap.
Oh, okay.
It was just it was liquid soap
soap that was being shared, which is
oh no, there would have been so many herpes going around. Fuck. I mean, there was already plenty of herpes going around, and strep throat, and athlete's foot,
mono.
I mean, I got the worst sinus infection I've ever had in my life. I got when I was in basic training. You're gonna share everything. You share everything while you're in there. You get real used to being nut to butt with other men. Mm. Which, I mean, there's benefits to that. There's also some drawbacks. You fall in love, you get your heart broken.
Okay, so once a week you had to clean the drain. How many dingleberries were actually in the drain on average?
Okay, if I'm being perfectly honest, it was maybe like 4 or 5 per drain. Sometimes they're big, sometimes they're small. It would get better.
Every day it was getting cleaned then.
No, it wasn't. No, because
are you sure? Because I get a dingleberry every day, and I'm not in the military.
No, but because see, the thing is, we didn't have time to shower every single day. We'd maybe have time to shower. So you're supposed to have enough time to shit, shower, and shave every morning, but no, we had time to.
Never enough time.
Never had.
It's one or the other.
Yeah, well, you can pick 2 of those things.
Okay.
And you're gonna get in trouble for not shaving, and you're gonna be miserable if you don't shit. So taking a shower takes a back seat.
I understand.
So you build up a bunch of dingleberries. And also that they call the toilet paper in the military John Wayne. And the reason they call it John Wayne toilet paper is because it's rough, it's tough, and it doesn't take shit from anybody.
Hell yeah.
So everything that you do in basic training, you have to do it fast. You have to do it as fast as you can.
You're surrounded by dicks and shit.
Oh yeah, I saw so many men taking a shit when I was in basic training that eventually I became desensitized to it, because the first few times it was a little shocking actually, because there's.
What about you? I know you have okay, I don't know if I should share this with the world, but I know that you have you have trouble peeing in front of people.
Oh God, my bowels have stage fright like nobody else.
How were you in basic with that?
I would get up in the middle of the night and I would go to the bathroom. I mean, I could.
And that was the only time. Did you pee in front of people though?
Oh yeah, I got to the point where I could pee in front of people, but
out of necessity.
Oh yeah, I mean, it gets to a point where you just can't hold it anymore. But shitting, you can hold that for a while, and I would just wait until. What I would do is I would usually so you have to do fire guard at night, where you wake up and you sit in the barracks for an hour and make sure that nobody tries to run away.
Attack.
I mean, nobody's attacking. They're trying to make sure that nobody escapes. because there was a lot of people that wanted to get the fuck out of there. I wanted to get the
50
fuck out of there.
There was 50 dingleberries every time someone cleaned that fucking shower. 5 per drain.
Yeah, that's believable. I mean, it was
8 drains.
It was usually me, and nobody's gonna care if I say
There's
his
some
last
big
name.
boys,
Nobody's
right?
gonna.
There's some big boys. They probably had more dingleberries than other. Did
There
you
were
ever see it
definitely
clogged. Did the drain ever get clogged from? Okay, we don't have to talk about this. So now that we've learned this great story that you told, imagine the amount of dingleberries out there in the Legion.
in the world. Oh, in the Legion. I thought you meant in the world in general. There's countless dingleberries in the world.
These guys don't even have showers, and they're out there doing the same thing.
Oh yeah, they
draining.
didn't even have toilet paper back there, and they're wiping their asses with like leaves and shit.
Imagine the Legion dingleberries.
Oh man, they must have had the worst rashes.
Dude, I have to walk like a cowboy after one day in the hot sun because of the chafing and your butt cheeks rubbing together with one little tiny dingleberry on accident because you had Chipotle. You know?
Oh,
these motherfuckers probably had 8 to 20 dingleberries in their ass at all times.
Have you ever seen a dog's fur after it's been running through the snow and it just has all those clumps of snow stuck all through its legs, all through its paws? That's every recruit's asshole in basic training.
God, so these motherfuckers in the Legion were just covered in shit.
Oh God, yeah.
They must be just like how you got desensitized from the peeing and the pooping and seeing dicks. They didn't even smell shit anymore. They probably smelled so fucking bad.
I never got to the point where it didn't disgust me, but I did get to the point where I wouldn't gag anymore. She'd be like, all right, I got to get this over and done with. I'm gonna grab this big wad of hair and shit, and
You had to grab it with your hands?
I mean, they didn't give us rubber gloves. No.
No, you were grabbing all your friends' poopies.
Yeah.
And they didn't have gloves in the Legion. So
No, they definitely didn't have rubber back then.
poo-poo was just normal back then.
It was a part of everyday life.
It must have. So maybe because it was so normal, it wasn't a big deal for them. It'd be a big deal.
I think back
like
then
if we had a telephone booth and went back there.
What, like Bill and Ted?
Yeah, and then we're like chilling, and we'd be like, "This is the most disgusting, foul, fucked up shit I've ever seen." No wonder we are full of disease and shit. Like we were just.
Well, that's the reason that we've got more modernized toilet paper. I mean, that's the reason the more quote unquote civilized Europeans are using bidets instead of toilet papers. 'Cause, I mean, really think about it. Wiping your ass with a piece of toilet paper.
Oh, I've talked about this a lot. Like, if you got shit on your face, would you wipe it with a piece of toilet paper?
No, I'd wash my face.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny.
If you got poo poo on your arm, would you just like take a piece of paper and go? Whee?
Nope.
Yeah, you'd
Because
wash it with water.
The fact of the matter is, the way that Americans operate, with anybody who wipes their ass with toilet paper, there's a certain point where you just say to yourself, "Yep, that's as clean as my asshole is getting today."
Yeah. Because we shower every day. Well,
ideally,
most of us.
Probably not even most of us. Well, that's it for this episode of the Iconoblast podcast. Join us in the next episode where we're actually going to get back to talking about Julius Caesar. Is there anything you want to add to the end of this episode, Joel?
I think I just want to apologize that we this is a show that you're supposed to learn something. You're supposed to be entertaining. You're supposed to learn, and I feel like I don't think anyone learned shit except.
Well, no, we did learn some stuff today. We learned that you're a furry. We learned that I'm biased towards humans. I would prefer that anything that I either fall in love with or make love to.
We can't talk about
Yeah,
this.
we can't get back into it, or else we're going to get in a fight again. And it took us like an hour to work that out and to clean up the mess that you made. Anyway, iTunes users, please subscribe, rate, and review. It helps us get higher on the iTunes charts, and that helps us keep the show going. Another way that you can help is you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to the Drinkin' Bros History channel, and that way you can see all of the action that's going on camera as well as hear
the equipment that I ruined by throwing my drink.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be fine, and hopefully Giorgio doesn't get too mad at us for.
He doesn't watch the show, so.
Oh yeah, we probably shouldn't let Giorgio know what happened. If you subscribe to the Drinking Bros History channel, you're also going to be able to see our brother podcast or sister podcast, or I don't know how do you describe two things that are related? They're joined together. Our sibling podcast, Softcore History. It's got Dan Regester, Rob Fox, and I forgot Jake's last name. Check out Softcore History on YouTube. They do a great job on their show. If you're already subscribed to YouTube, go and hit the like button. Hitting the like button, leaving a comment, that is going to help us out a bunch. Just like the shit out of all of our shows.
Yeah.
You can also follow us on Instagram to see what we're up to. You can follow the podcast at Iconoblast Podcast. If you want to see what pictures Joel is posting, which he's actually a really good photographer, check out at Joel R. Benner. If you want to see me post one picture every couple weeks that is, honestly not all that great, or see some interesting stories that Joel convinces me to post on Instagram, check out Coop Nukem. Send all of your love letters, hate mail, corrections, and ideas for new topics to iconoblastpodcast@gmail.com. And anything else that you want to add to the
Did you
tail end
mention
of this?
iTunes and Spotify? Subscribe and follow. And
Yeah,
like,
that was the
comment?
first thing that
Okay.
I mentioned. Yeah,
I don't really pay attention to what you're saying most of the time.
I know that's why we get so far off topic. This has been the Iconoblast Podcast. My name is Matt Cooper,
Joel.
reminding you to never take anything at face value.